evening and welcome to Preparing for Life Storms with Bear Prepper. Today is Tuesday, February 26, 2013, and it's my pleasure to welcome you in tonight. We are on air from 8 to 9 p.m. Central Time every Tuesday on American Preppers Radio, powered by PrepperBroadcasting.com. We broadcast 12-plus hosts 7 days a week, so please check out the host tab for more information on shows and times. You can also listen to all previous shows under the host archive. If you'd like to join us in the chat room, come on over to PrepperBroadcasting.com and click on the Listen and Chat at the top of the page. You'll then be taken to the chat room. Create your name or just accept the default name and come on in. You'll always be in for a treat with some lively chat and interesting conversation. Tomorrow night, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time, Goat Hollow and the Surreal News, the facts about where our world is heading without the slant. And then Friday night at 8 p.m. Central Time is Charlie in the Box. He's ready to guide us in information so that we can do our own research and learn what's really happening. He believes that you build people, and when they understand, then they can educate their communities. Eventually, the power that people feel, the government has come back. It has to come back to the people. And we can start restoring our families, our faith, our communities, and our republic. So everybody, tonight we have a special guest. He's one of our own from the chat room, H. Witt. He's just about ready to be totally off-grid, and he's going to help us understand the decisions he's made and the logic behind them. So H. Witt, come on in. Welcome to the show.
Hello there, Miss Bear. And hello, everybody.
How are you this evening?
Well, I was a little bit nervous, but somebody suggested that I take a couple of shots of scotch. That's what. So I'm cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, let's hope we don't tongue tie him all night, folks.
That would be a pickled cucumber too. So, but I'm here.
There you go. Well, and
I'm ready to go.
And thank you for coming in tonight and talking to us about your off-grid experience. Now, you made this decision to go off-grid, and part of that decision to go off-grid was deciding, where you were going to live and all that kind of good stuff. So, the first part of that is deciding to change your life. Why did you decide to change your life? What prompted you to make this move?
Well, I've been watching what's been going on over the last few years, and we've been having this here, or we had the housing bubble. We had that bubble and this other bubble and everything else. Well, now we got the economic bubble coming up here. And every bubble in the past has burst. And this here economic bubble ain't going to last too much longer. So I figured I better get my ducks in a row and get myself situated into a spot where when this bubble does burst, I'm not going to be left out in the cold. I'm going to be prepared for it.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people out there that are coming to the same realization, and we're all looking at it and saying, okay, where do we start? How do we make this move, and what do we need to do? So that's kind of what I want to focus on tonight is the steps you made, the choices you had to make, and what led you to those choices so that we can learn from you. Because I don't believe, we don't have to make all our own mistakes. We can sit back and watch yours.
Well, you're going to learn from my mistakes. Okay. Well, so far, I don't think I've made too many mistakes. But,
that's good. That's wonderful.
I lived, I was born and raised up in Minnesota, which is way too cold for me. And then I moved to New Mexico, lived there for 20 years. And it's pretty much impossible to grow anything in the desert area. And water is very hard to come by there. And now I live in Florida, and I love the winters here. I love them to death. The summers are hot, I mean real hot and real humid. And to be able to live off grid, you're going to have to go without a few of the, what would you call it, the accoutrements of life, like air conditioning. That's too expensive to be running off of solar power. So I figured, well, I better pick me an area where we got more of a temperate climate. I can bear 95 degrees a few days out of the summer, and I can bear 15 below zero if I need to in the wintertime if I've got a heated area. And so I decided, well, Tennessee, that's kind of a moderate climate area, and so I decided, well, that's where I'm going to find some property and build this here cabin.
That's a wise decision you made on thinking about the climate and what you're going to have to provide for yourself. And, a lot of people don't think about it. They just say, well, okay, it's, within an hour where I'm at. And that's as far as they go. Because for me, I'm one of those people that made the decision for an hour from where I'm at or two. So I think that's a great decision because you get to choose what you have to put your money into.
Yeah. Well, I can see where a lot of people can't do what I'm trying to do because they have a lot of family, and children and parents and brothers and sisters that they don't want to just up and move to a different area of the country because they'd feel like they'd be abandoning the family. But myself, my wife died 4.5 years ago. I have no children. The Army made sure of that. My siblings, they're all deceased. They've been dead for many, many years. And my parents have been dead for many years. So I'm the last of my breed. I'm the last of the Mohicans. And
sorry for all your losses.
No, thank you. But that's life. Life goes on, whether we want it to or not. And so I decided that I'm just gonna do my own little thing and give it a try.
There you go. So when you went to Tennessee and I'm sure you went through a realtor and you said, okay, I got to look for land. What were the priorities that you had in place for what you required on your property?
I was looking mainly for some area or some acreage that wasn't too expensive and readily available to water, because water is the main source of life. Water, without water, you don't live for more than 3 days. Right. So I have to, it had to have water on it, and luckily the acreage that I found has a nice spring on it that runs into a creek, and I'm building my cabin not too far from that creek area, and so that's, I will have a well there too, but I'm going to be putting in a dam there and having a nice pond. So
very nice. That's you're right. Water is important, and if you have a pond, oh my goodness, there's endless possibilities, isn't there?
Oh yeah, endless possibilities. You can stock the you can stock the pond with fish, and have ducks they're self-sufficient there in the pond. I mean, endless possibilities there.
So what other, is that the only high priority you had? What about location as far as being in the city or near a city or neighbors? Did any of that matter?
Not really. It didn't really matter. I just, I don't want to be near any large city for sure, because I've always been a country boy. So I was born and raised on a farm, and I just didn't want to be near any large city. I lived in Albuquerque for 20 years, and I hated it. I hated every minute of it. And, I'm out in the middle of nowhere here in Florida, but it's too hot here in the summer and too humid. So I decided Tennessee and, found a nice little piece of acreage out there, and it just happens to be right across the road from a large Amish community.
Oh, so, wonderful. That's what you call luck of the draw there. Hey, folks, if you want to call into the show, the phone number is 347-202-0228, and H-Wit would be glad to take your questions at any time. Yeah, having an Amish community right across the street, oh my goodness, there's so much that they can teach you, and you can help each other, you with your solar and them without.
A lot of bartering going on there. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the things I envy about Misty Prepper is that she's right there in an Amish community, and she learned so much from them, and that is just wonderful. So, so you've got your land, and now you have to decide what you're going to live in. So tell us about your cabin and the choices you made for size and all that kind of good stuff, whatever you feel like talking about.
Well, I was originally going to just build a cabin and then build a root cellar away from the cabin. But then I decided, well, why go through all that work when I can just, build a basement, and that would, very well insulated, and then build a cabin right on top of it. And so that's what I'm doing. I've already bought and paid for the land, and the basement area has already been dug. And I just talked to my contractor here a few days ago, and he says that the basement is approximately half finished already.
Wow.
So we're going to be moved on to putting on the flooring and building the cabin above. And the whole thing is going to be... Oh, I'm always excited about this. I can't wait.
Okay, so tell us about the cabin. Sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, no problem. It's like I said, it's a 14 by 16 cabin with a full basement underneath. And I see where Wheatree had put in a question, how far I'm going to be from a city. And I'm going to be approximately 7 miles from a small town and approximately 30 miles from any kind of a large town, if that makes any sense to you. But anyway, getting back to the cabin now, the basement is going to be 7 feet deep, from the floor to the ceiling of the basement, and then just a one-room cabin built above that, and then there's going to be 2 doors, one on the west side and one on the south side, and then there's going to be 2 porches coming off the sides, one on the west side and one on the south side, and both porches are going to be extended out 8 feet. So it's going to have kind of a wraparound porch on it.
Which comes in handy because, in the olden days, that's where they used to sleep in the summer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I plan on doing is, and I plan on kind of having an outdoor kitchen along with my indoor kitchen there because, 14 by 16, that's not going to be too much of a big area to be doing a lot of canning and things like that, butchering animals and whatnot. And so there's gonna have to be some kind of an outdoor facility for for that kind of thing to go on.
Right.
So,
yeah. That one of the things I was thinking about doing is putting my kitchen stove on wheels and making no threshold so I could just roll it right out on the summer porch.
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
So. Okay, now your water, are you going to be drilling a well, or are you going to be using a pump up from your creek?
I'm going to be drilling a well, and that's going to be a solar pump in that, 12-volt solar pump, and that's going to be separate from the solar to the house. And the solar to the house, I've already got things on order for that. And I'm going to go with 3 panels, 230 watts each, for a total of 690 watts of for panels. And then I've got a charge controller, 60 amp charge controller, and then I'm going with 4 12-volt deep cycle batteries. So that should give me enough power to make it through the night anyway. And then, of course, about a 1,000 watt pure sine wave inverter. And that's going to be running the my small appliances like blenders and my wheat grinder, things like that. But as far as the lights and stuff, that's all going to be all 12 volt. There's going to be, what would you call it? It's going to be kind of I should say the inverter is going to be running my computer and all that stuff too. So, it all works hand in hand. And I'm going to have generator backup. So, and the generator is, yes, go ahead.
Are you going to have internet? Are you going to have internet, one of those phone cards?
Yeah. I know a lot of people have asked me, or said to me that, oh my goodness, oh my God, you're going to go off grid. You're going to go back in time. We're not going to see you online. We're not going to be able to talk to you and all this. Well, I like my toys. I like my internet. I don't use TV. I haven't had TV for over 12 years, so I could care less about that. But my internet, that's where I get all my news, and that's how I communicate with a lot of people. And, so I'm not going to give that up.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, well, everyone's asking the question about your toilet. So, you want to tell us about your toilet?
Well, I had a dream about that the other night.
Uh-oh.
But, actually, I had a dream that I had drank the world's largest margarita. But then I woke up the next morning and there was salt around the rim of the toilet. And thankfully, I didn't eat the worm.
Oh, so, all right, Clint.
Yeah. But then, I'm not going to go with a conventional sewer system. There's not going to be a sewer system. I'm going with what they call the lovable loo. And that is it's just a bucket, actually. and it's, there's a lot of people that get the composting toilets, and they, there's a lot of extra maintenance to the composting toilets that, I just don't care for those. But this lovable loo, it's where you do everything right there in that bucket, and when you're done, you just take a scoop of either sawdust or peat moss and cover it. And, eventually the bucket gets full. You take that out and you dump that on your compost. You have separate compost from your regular compost. I don't put human manure with any other compost that's going on my garden. The compost that's going to be from the level below, after that's composted down, that's going to go on the fruit trees and the nut trees and things like that. It's not going.
Something I read said that you should just leave it in the bucket for a year, and then when you open it up, it won't be near as bad, and it'll compost quicker.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and that's a possibility. But
it might take a lot of buckets.
Yeah, I'm. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to have about 6 buckets.
There you go.
So.
Okay. So now you said how are you going to cook? Because I don't think you said how you were going to cook in your cabin.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have propane as my source for my cooking, my cook stove and heat, and probably for my refrigerator too, propane refrigerator.
Oh, nice.
But I would love to have a wood cooking stove, but I really don't see any room inside the cabin for a good sized wood cooking stove. And plus, that size of a cabin being well insulated like it's going to be, it's going to burn me right out of that cabin.
Right.
So I might have I'd probably have the wood cooking stove in my summer kitchen, which would be separate from the house. I might put it on the porch, depends.
Right, depends on how it's designed and whether or not it's safe, yeah. Right. Yeah, cooking's probably a big thing, and being able to find a propane refrigerator and have that really opens up your options for you on being able to actually keep things cold, for the long term.
Right. Yeah. Well, they do make solar, 12-volt and 24-volt refrigerators nowadays, but the cost of those is just astronomical. I mean, sure, they're very efficient. And I know they're very well worth it, but right now I can't see spending that kind of money. I'm probably going to have to wait for a few years and wait for the price to come down.
Right. Well, a lot of people, what they're doing is they're using their freezer, and it's just running at a much lower wattage off of the solar, so it doesn't actually freeze. It just stays cold. So, because they're so well insulated, the box freezers, but they're very big, because of the insulation. Okay, folks, I'm going to take a quick break here. We've got a couple words from our sponsors, and we'll be back to you in a minute.
Tonight's broadcast brought to you in part by Joe and Amy Alton, the authors of the #1 Amazon bestseller, The Doom and Bloom Survival Medicine Handbook. See their articles in Backwoods Homes, Survivalist, Self-Reliance Illustrated, and Survival Quarterly magazines. Visit Joe and Amy's website at www.doomandbloom.net.
Hey, I'm Frank Bates. I just created a free video at survivewithsolar.com that exposes the electricity monopolies and the government for what they really are, incompetent, lying crooks that are counting on your fear to keep your power bills criminally high. My video at survivewithsolar.com exposes the truth and shows you the secret of how I beat them and how you can beat them too. Go to survivewithsolar.com and discover one weird trick to slash your power bill and protect your home before they make me shut it down. Again,
welcome back to Preparing for Life Storms with Bear Pepper and my guest, H-Wit. So I've got a few announcements to make. Gulf Strike with Tom, founder of American Preppers Network, will be on Thursday, at 6 p.m. Central Time. And the Gun Show with Dave Womack, all about guns, will be on Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time. Also, if you tune in next week, we're going to have a quick announcement from the Mature Woman and the Materhead. So join us then. And if you'd like to call into the show, the phone number is 347-202-0228. Okay, so let's get back with H-Wit. Now, we were talking about your cabin and your toilet, of course. And one of the things that I'm really curious about is, are you worried about isolation and being alone? Because, you know, when you move out onto property, you tend to be alone a lot more than you ever were before.
Well, that beer just about exploded. Okay, no, I've been alone ever since my wife died, you know, almost 5 years ago now. And I don't mind it, you know. Well, my girlfriend, well, I'm not going to get into inflating her, but, I've always been pretty much a loner, and I don't really follow, you know, along with the group and all this and that. You know, I pretty much stay by myself, and I enjoy it, you know. Some people can't do it, but I don't mind it. Yeah.
Well, that's good. We've got some people in the chat room saying they can't hear us. So, D-Man, if you want to check into that and see why they can't hear us, that would be greatly appreciated. But we're going to continue on. We've had some questions in the chat room about gardening and raising animals. So let's talk about gardening first. Are you planning on a garden? How are you planning on doing it?
Well, yeah, I'm going to have a huge garden. Matter of fact, pretty much the whole acreage that I have is going to be garden. And it's not going to be your conventional garden where you get out there and you till it up and you do this to it and you add your fertilizer and you get out there and plant your seeds every spring and then you nurse them along by watering and then you get out there and weed every day. That's too much work for me. And of course this Back to Eden garden, that's all fine and dandy. That's great. I love it. But it's still quite a bit of work for me. And so I'm going to do what they call a permaculture garden, a secret garden, a survival garden. And, I've been doing a lot of studying on it, and there's one book that I can't give it enough praise, and that's The Secret Garden of Survival. It's written by Rick Austin. He's a survivalist gardener. And, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And I also been doing a lot of studying, listen to this Paul Wheaton with his permaculture talk, and and I go into permies.com and I read a lot of things going on in there. And then there's another guy that's his name is Jeff Lawton, and he's got some sites that some videos that really, really interest me on how to start this permaculture gardening and make it sustainable so that you just plant it once and pretty much forget about it. There's no weeding, there's no fertilizing, there's no watering. All you do is plant it and forget it, and you just go out there and you do your harvesting. Now, of course,
well,
if
good.
if you're going to have like tomatoes or field of corn or something like that, sure, you're going to have to do that, pretty much separately. Well, that would be included in the permaculture gardening, but it would be, something that would be easily maintained in a certain area of this permaculture garden. And so it's very interesting to study all this. And I'm just going to take what I've learned and put it to practical use. And, and it's going to take maybe a couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years to get it really established and going. But once it's going, I don't have to worry about, going out there and watering the garden all the time and, weeding and, all the things that gardeners do.
Yeah, and that's what people don't think about, myself included, when we put in these great big huge gardens or whatever, that, you have to maintain them in some way, shape, or form. I guess I'm kind of lucky because I only touch mine every 2 weeks. Yeah. Otherwise, it takes care of itself, but it would sure be nice to have one that I never had to take care of. But here in Texas, the water is just so limited that that's just not an option for us here.
Right.
Okay, so what about animals?
Okay, I plan on having the chickens and maybe a few hogs. I'm not going to get into the goats. They can be too much trouble. I learned that many, many years ago. But I might have a milk cow, but I kind of doubt that too because I'm going to be right across the road from the Amish community. They're going to have all kinds of cattle and, milk cows and whatnot. I'll just, buy my milk from them. So, and it's going to be whole milk. It's not going to be, it's going to be whole raw milk. That's what I was raised on, whole raw milk. And I love it.
Okay, so you said something briefly about not doing goats. What is it? Why not do goats? What's the problem with that?
They can get into too many things. There's too many predators that can get to them. You got to have either a very good guard dog or a donkey that you can put with them that will tolerate the goats. I've known people that had goats and they decided, well, I'm going to get me a donkey to help protect them. Well, the donkey kills the goats instead of the predators. So, yeah, and so it's too much trouble really to take care of the goats in my eyes anyway. Yeah.
Okay,
I like something that's low maintenance.
You have woods, and we've got a question from Fringe in the chat room.
Okay.
And do you have woods on your land?
Do I have what?
Woods.
Oh, woodland?
Yeah.
Well, woodland. Yeah, there's some trees that are still on there. What this property is the previous owners had gone in there and they didn't quite clear cut the whole thing, but they did take all the big trees. They left very few big trees, but there's a lot of brush and a lot of trees that they did cut and they just left them laying on the ground. And it's almost impossible to, walk a straight line from one side of the property to the other. Matter of fact, it'd be like poking feces up a wildcat's butt with a toothpick to be able to walk a straight line from one side of the property to the other. And there's just too much brush.
So are you going to get a brush hog in there, or are you going to chop it with an axe? How are you going to manage that?
Well, I'm going to be getting a tractor and pretty much taking all this these downed logs and brush and whatnot, and putting them in what they call hugelkultur piles, and covering those with dirt, and then planting. This hugelkultur will create the hills and the swells and stuff to capture any kind of runoff from any rains and stuff, and that'll provide the water for to be soaked up in these hugelkultur hills. And you just plant your vegetables and trees and shrubs and stuff in these hills, and as the wood decays under this hill, it provides the moisture and the nutrients and all this to anything that's living above ground. So, and I'm going to be probably inoculating some of the logs and stuff with mushroom cultures and stuff. So it's, it all works out.
Did you say Hugo Hills, Hugo?
Hugelkultur, Hugel. Well, wait, hold on a minute. Let me get back to my computer here so I can. I think I've got a link. I think I've got a link to it on here. It's one of Paul Wheaton's. Let's see.
Hugo Hill Culture?
Yeah.
I think Andrea got it. Got it for us. Andrea, can you put a link in the chat room?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm interested in learning about that, because I think that's a great idea to utilize, your scraps that way and make them work for you. And I love the idea of doing mushrooms. I've been looking into that, and of course here in Texas we can't do them on the outside. Most people do them in greenhouses or in dark, dank areas like caves. So, but that's a great option for other areas.
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking. Are you planning on any windmills or anything like that?
Not really. I'm just going to go with the solar panels for now, and maybe eventually I might get the wind turbines, to produce more electricity. I'm not really that confident yet in the turbines, but I might get a windmill for to aerate the pond. Well, the pond is going to be on hold right now because it's just too wet in that area. I was going to have him, the dozer guy, cut in the driveway and do the pond at the same time, but he came in and cut in the driveway already, and we hauled in rock and stuff to put on the driveway. But the pond it's just too wet in that area right now, and I'm not going to pay somebody $110 an hour to be pushing mud from one side of an area to the other, with a bulldozer.
Well, with any new property, it's a process, because you get all these great plans, and then you find you can only do so much this time of year and so much that time of year, and it, unfortunately, it just drags out on and on and on. You're like, will I ever finish this?
Yeah, it's a never-ending process, actually. It just goes on and on.
Exciting process. It looks like everyone's finally back hearing us again, which is wonderful. Sorry about that, folks. Sometimes in live radio, stuff happens. But you can go back to the archive, and the whole show will be there, because as long as we were yakking, it was being recorded. So, and remember, folks, if you want to call into the show, we're fastly running out of time. The phone number is 347-202-0228. All right, so I'm looking at my list here of things that we talked about. And, my biggest curiosity is the size of the cabin and the basement. What kind of things are you going to be using the basement for?
Well, that's going to be for all my food storage. And
Nice.
I do a lot of canning, of vegetables and meats and, fruits and whatnot. And I also do a lot of smoking of meats and making sausages and whatnot. And, a root cellar is a perfect place to keep all your canned goods and, your meats and fruits and vegetables and stuff. And seeing that the basement is going to be cold storage down there, it's not going to be heated at all. It's going to be very well insulated from the upstairs living area. And, if I can keep it at 40 degrees down there in the summertime or in the wintertime, and if I can keep it at 55 degrees or even 60 degrees in the summertime, in the heat of the summertime, if I can keep it at 60 there, that'd be great. Because it's going to be a cool, dark place, and that's the best thing for, for your canned goods.
And I take it it's going to be finished. It's going to be a finished cellar?
Well, it's going to be cement block walls and then cement floor. So,
nice.
And I'm going to have bins and stuff that are going to be on casters and whatnot, for onions and potatoes and, things like that, and eventually apples and pears and whatnot, and be able to just roll those around anywhere I need to in the basement. And, of course, all kinds of shelving. So.
We're actually building a secret one, and I won't be ever showing it on video, of course, but we're going to be building a cinder block hidden area, and it'll act as a root cellar for now, and if ever needed, it'll act as a place that we can escape for refuge. But we're doing cinder blocks too. But we're actually going to leave it a dirt floor, because here in Texas there's so little water that if you put a cement floor down, you won't get any of that moisture up that you need to keep it cool. So we were putting a floor in ours.
Yeah. Well, there's I decided to go with the cement floor. I was going to go with crushed lime rock, and compact that down real smooth and everything. But then I wanted to, I want to have these bins, with my potatoes and onions and maybe carrots or whatever, or squash, my winter squash or whatever. And I want to be able to roll those around in the excuse me, in the basement in order to, make more room for anything else that needs to go down there. So, it's
I think Paula said earlier that in her grandma, I think it was her grandma, they actually had their kitchen in the basement.
Oh, I'd love to have that. I would love to have that.
I mean, it would be possible.
In the summertime, if it does get too hot, I will be sleeping down there, when it gets too hot outside.
There you go. Hey, we got another question in the chat room from Lady B. How did you find your property?
Well, a buddy of mine that I used to work with here in Florida at the Department of Corrections, him and I are real good friends, and he used to live up in Tennessee, and, he's wanting to move back up there too. And he had found this area that, there was actually 205 acres that was for sale. But he was breaking it up into, minimum 5 acre section, plots. And, he was wanting to buy something like 15, 20 acres. Well, I was only wanting maybe 5 acres. Well, it ended up the price was right, and the way the property was situated and the way they were going to divide it up and everything, I ended up with a little bit more than 5 acres and a little bit less than 10 acres. But, I mean, it just worked out perfect. I was the first one to pick my property in that area of the whole big picture that was being for sale there.
Very nice.
So I just, but he was the one that pointed it out to me, and I just looked at it, and I loved it. And it was just right for me. Because I was going to buy two. Go ahead.
Sometimes the best property is the property that you get word of mouth. Hey, it looks like we got Paula. Paula's in the queue, so why don't we go ahead and bring her on in. Hey, Paula, come on in.
Hi there. Hi.
Well, hi there, sweetheart. How you doing there, Paula?
I'm doing good. It's a good show. Parts of it that I can hear. I was going to ask, is it, I might have missed it, but is it going to have like a fireplace, even a small one, in your cabin? Are you going to put one in, or?
Well, eventually I'm not going to have a fireplace. Fireplaces are just way too inefficient.
Okay.
But eventually I'm not going to go with any kind of wood, heat right now. But maybe in a year or two, I will probably go with what they call the rocket stove mass heater.
Okay.
And it's a rocket stove. I'm sure you're familiar with the rocket stove, but
Yeah.
it's a larger version of a regular rocket stove, and it's covered and it's vented so that none of the smoke goes into the house. It doesn't go straight up and into the house. It goes up into a barrel, and then it's redirected back down again along the outside of your rocket stove, and then the heat and the smoke and everything is redirected through this chimney area that's covered with cob, and then vented outside. And by the time it gets outside, there's very little heat loss and no smoke at all.
Oh, that'd be
just
cool.
Moisture.
For somebody just to have in their garage if they want another way to cook something if they need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man, something else I need to look into. Will you still be doing videos and stuff? I mean, will you start doing videos and talking to us?
Well,
you still have internet, right?
I'm going to have internet, and I'm planning on having videos. Like I was telling Bear earlier, that I've got this here camera. It's one of these here Canon FS200s, and Santa Claus left that on my doorstep, around Christmas time. And I've been playing around with it and, tinkering here and tinkering there. Well, I finally found out how to turn the thing on. And I've been trying to make videos and trying to upload them and everything, but I keep coming up with an operator malfunction. And until I work through this operator malfunction, I'm at a loss. You'd think that a guy that, I was a machinist for 32 years, had my own machine shop for 11 years, and all my machines, most of my machines were all computer controlled. I had to program all these machines in order to make my parts. And you'd think that with all that kind of knowledge that a little bitty camera wouldn't be confusing. But apparently I'm not I'm not smarter than the camera. So
Well, you'll get it.
Yeah, eventually I will. Bear says that there's some classes that I can take. And another buddy of mine says that his daughter, who is 9 years old, taught him how to use the camera.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
I'm thinking maybe I can borrow her for half an hour or so to, train me.
Retree says, have you read the instruction book?
He's
You mean
a guy.
there's instructions?
They can't read. English and instructions.
Hey, those
There's a-
instruction books are
There's
horrible.
a destruction book?
All right, thanks for
There's a
answering my
destruction book for
question.
these things?
Thank you, Paula.
You're welcome, Bear.
Thanks,
Okay.
Paula.
All right, we've got another question for you from Autumn Prepper. Are you building
Okay.
it or are you having it built?
I'm having it built. I'm 60 years old. I'm too old to be, throwing things around, throwing cement blocks around. I'm physically fit. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not on any kind of medications or anything, but this property is 458 miles away from where I live. I've got things going on here where I live at that I can't be gone for more than a week. And, so it'd be pretty much physically impossible for me to go up there on a weekend and, build the basement, and then the following weekend go back up there and put the flooring on. It'd be just way too much for me.
Plus permits and everything
So-
else. It looks like we have 2 people in the queue, and we're down to about 5 minutes, so let's go ahead and try to get these people in. First, we have
All right,
VM.
let's go for it.
Hey, VM, come on in. You're on with HWIT.
Hey, I was just wondering, since you are do homesteading, what do you think about the black soldier flies and the vermiculture?
Can you repeat this question, please?
For like composting and stuff like that, what do you think about the black soldier fly larvae and the vermiculture, which is worms?
Okay. Well, the worms are going to be in the ground. I'm not going to be raising worms, that's for sure, unless I'm going to be using them for fishing. But the worms will be in the ground. The compost pile will be pretty much a normal compost pile. I'm not going to be doing any vermiculture, vermiculture, what they call that. Sure, any newspaper or anything like that I get, I'm going to shred that up and throw that in the compost pile and let the worms have at it in there. But everything is going to be outside. I'm not going to have any vermiculture going on in the house or anything like that. There's not going to be any room for it. So, does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Bye.
Have a good evening, VM. Thank you.
Yep,
All
bye.
right, I'm going to run into a real quick question because I think I do know the answer for you on this one. You don't need any permits, right, because you're off-grid. Is that correct? Or is your building
there you go with
terrible?
There you go with trick questions already. Okay, well, no. As a matter of fact, in this area, as far as building permits or anything like that, the only thing they need a permit on is for your sewer system, which I'm not going to have one of those, and they need a permit for any kind of electrical, 110 volt or 220 volt electrical being connected to the grid, any wiring that's going to be put in the house. And seeing that I'm going all solar on it, I'm not going to have any wiring at all in the, that's built into the walls and all that. So I don't have to pull a permit for that.
There you go.
Ooh, excuse me.
I'm the same way out here at my property. I don't have to pull any permits. Okay, let's get Mrs. Sidhu in. She's in the queue. Let's go ahead and get her on in the room. Hey, did I say that right?
No, that's all right.
How do you say it?
Hey, Shelley.
Hi, Whit.
Hi, Shelley. What's going on?
Well, I wanted to talk to you since I had so much fun with you the last time I saw you, or the first time, I guess I should say.
Yeah, the first time. Well, that was the last time. Was the first time. Now I'm confused. Now you got me confused here. What? Okay, but
I actually
hopefully,
did have a question for you though.
Yeah.
On your land, are you? I know you are very much into like baking your own bread and things like that. Will you be trying to raise like your own wheat? I didn't know if you covered that when I couldn't hear you on the thing here.
No, I'm not going to be raising my own wheat for grinding and stuff, because in that area, there's only certain parts of the United States that you can actually grow the hard red wheat and your real hard wheats anyway, and that's up in what I call the Arctic Circle, which is above the Mason-Dixon line. And
okay.
so I probably will be growing some rye as a cover crop. I'm going to have a lot of cover crops, a lot of vetch and a lot of legumes and stuff that the roots will capture the nitrogen and store the nitrogen attached to the roots, and so that after the plant dies off, it'll slowly release that nitrogen back into the soil for the other plants to have nourishment for.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as far as growing my own wheat for, and processing that, I grew plenty of wheat as a kid on the farm that I was raised on, and it's too much work and too much expense to harvest it and thrash it, just to get 50 pounds of wheat. And I go through approximately 50 pounds of wheat per year.
Okay.
By myself. So, and I just order my wheat through Honeyville.com and have it shipped to me. I buy 50 pounds of hard red wheat and 50 pounds of soft white wheat, and I mix the two together and grind them and make my breads. So,
okay. What about tobacco?
Tobacco,
Bear,
I'm going to be growing that.
I think I saw a video with Bear with tobacco, wasn't that?
Oh, yeah, and we're growing enough for 2 people to smoke a whole year this next year.
Well, I know Whit doesn't smoke, but...
Yeah, I don't use any kind of tobacco products.
No,
but,
he just tips the bottle, right?
Tobacco plants.
For the show.
Tobacco plants are excellent for the root system in them are excellent for detoxicating the soil. They will pick up any kind of intoxication and any bad stuff that's in the soil anyway. I don't know what they call that junk, but any kind of bad stuff that might be in the soil, the tobacco plants will take it up into the plant and detoxify the soil. So
okay, well, I have to end this here, folks. I want to thank you for calling in, hon. I appreciate it.
You take care.
All right, bye-bye. And H-Wit, I hope that you will come back with us in about 6 months and we can hear about your experience and how it's going and how you like it.
Well, I'd love to continue talking about this, 6 months down the road or even a year down the road or, however long it takes. I'd love to be able to keep on talking about it.
That would be wonderful. And thank you so much for being my guest tonight. It's been an honor. And you have a wonderful evening.
Well, it's been an honor for me to be on, a show with the bear prepper. Wow. I've been subbed to you for a long time, over a year that I've been subbed to you. And I love every video that you've put out. I've loved it, and I've even tried some of your recipes and whatnot. And just keep up the good work on that.
Well, thank you so much, hon, and we're looking forward to seeing yours. And you have a wonderful evening.
Well, I'm going to give it the old college 1-2 try. So.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye now. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
All right, folks, so tonight I'm going to leave you with a quote by Socrates. To find yourself, think for yourself. I will see you a week from this Tuesday. Oh, before I do that, let me do a quick reminder on my contest. It ends the 28th. The rules are on the wheat bread, Rory's Wheat Bread. Follow the rules or you won't go in the pot. I'm giving away a Country Living grain mill and bean auger and flour bin. So I will see you a week from this Tuesday, March 5th at 8 p.m. Central Time when we will be discussing off-grid cooking. We've just heard about HWIT's off-grid homes, so now let's get prepared to cook some food on it. You have lots of food storage and you're learning how to cook with it, but did you really think about how you're going to manage that? There are many options, some better than others, for even short-term or long-term. We've got Fire, Oven, Coleman, Weber, the list goes on. So tune in next week when we're discussing that topic, and you can find more from me on YouTube and on Facebook, also here every Tuesday on prepperbroadcasting.com. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me. Good night and blessings.